Welcome to the PrePost Film Review. I'm Matt Stevenson.
And I'm John Asquith. So the way the podcast works, if you're a new listener, is we talk about a movie over two kind of time periods. The first section of the podcast is a trailer analysis, where we watch a trailer for a film. We talk about our hopes and expectations, maybe make a few predictions for the story. And then we come back once the film has been released and we talk about the film itself and sort of compare back to our trailer thoughts. So we do jump straight into spoilers for the second half of the podcast. So if you haven't seen the movie, don't listen to our full review because you'll get spoiled. And so this episode we're going to be talking about the new Denis Villeneuve film Sicario. So let's jump on into our trailer thoughts for this one.
State Department is pulling an agent that specializes in responding to escalated cartel activity.
This is not my department. FBI!
You want to be a part of this?
Do we get an opportunity at the men responsible for today?
The men who are really responsible for today.
Ever been to Juarez before?
We're going to El Paso, right? You're not American. What do you work for now?
Well, I go where I'm sent. Every day across that border, people are killed with his blessing. To find them would be like discovering a vaccine.
Nothing will make sense to your American ears.
But in the end, you will understand.
Spotter vehicle, left lane.
Spotter vehicle, 9 o'clock. Get his weapon out.
Alright, we've just watched the trailer for the new Denis Villeneuve film, Sicario. The director of Prisoners and Enemy. Has he done stuff before that, Matt? They're the only films I've seen of his.
They're the only two that... Oh, no, actually, he has done a few things. He did a film, Incendies, which is really great, and a bunch of other stuff that I haven't seen. But the three that I'm familiar with is Incendies, Prisoners and Enemy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd like to check out more of his work, because I really like Prisoners and Enemy. But we're not here to talk about those films. We're here to talk about Sicario, his latest feature. What do you think... based on the... Well, we've watched two trailers, right? So maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. This is a little bit different, I suppose, because we watched the original trailer, and I'm not sure what the second trailer is, whether it's just a second trailer or if it's an international trailer. But they're quite different in terms of tone. I guess overall I'm excited to see this film. I was excited before I even saw a trailer, just based on the people behind the camera. Or in front of the camera. The cast is amazing as well. Like, it's just, and there was a really big buzz about this film coming out of Cannes, and a lot of people saying that it was really amazing. So I was already excited about this film. And I think the trailer, while as usual, we can complain about it revealing too much, makes the film look great. I think, particularly the first trailer. Tonally, it seems to be in line with sort of what we've seen from him before, particularly Prisoners. It's kind of really dark and oppressive and sort of icky tone, looking at the underbelly of kind of CIA intervention into South America and the drug wars in Mexico or wherever it's actually set. So it's kind of like morally ambiguous subject matter, which suits his dark, sort of creepy filmmaking style, which I really like. And that the trailer has a very sort of oppressive vibe. There's this like sort of bassy hum that like drops in and out, and it feels like scary almost. Like it's going to be an intense film. But the second trailer that we watched kind of does away with that and plays a kind of poppy hip hop song over the top of it. which I'm hoping is a marketing ploy to try and attract a more mainstream audience, because I don't want this to be a sort of cool film about drug wars and like glorifying the CIA and how they're sort of badass with their like body armor and vans driving around the streets of Mexico and getting into shootouts and all that sort of thing, which I don't think it is based on his track record, but that the second trailer kind of paints it as more of a badass action film than a dark psychological thriller, which is kind of what it feels like from the first trailer. What about you, John? Are you excited to see this?
Yeah, I'm really, really excited. As I said before, of the director's work, I've only seen Enemy and Prisoners, but I really love those films. They're just the kind of filmmaking that really gets me going. I really enjoy watching, and just that slow burn, sort of, as you said, real psychological. There's like a darkness just underneath the surface. I really enjoy that sort of thing. I think True Detective Season 1 had a similar feel in a way.
Borderline's on horror in a lot of ways.
It does. Yeah,
nothing overt, but there's this really pitch black undercurrent that sort of runs throughout his film. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think this looks the same, and that gets me excited. I think, I would agree with you that the two trailers are weirdly very different tonally. But like you said, I think it is just a marketing thing in the second one. It's to get people in that might not be interested, because it's about, gang wars and cops and, as you said, badass violence and things, which I'm sure that stuff's in it, but I would, kind of be pretty confident in saying that that's not what the film's about.
I would, don't think it's going to glorify that kind of violence.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot to chew on and some nice thematic stuff. It's beautifully shot. I noticed that Roger Deakins is the cinematographer, and he's just awesome. So I'm really, really excited. I mean, the trailer does give away way too much, I think. I feel like I've seen scenes from very close to the end of the film.
Yes, I agree.
One shot in particular. There's like a shot of Emily Blunt looking injured, leaning against a wall, like, I'm going to tell everyone what you've done. It's like, that looks pretty close to the end. So I hope it's not. I hope there's some surprises in there for us. It's a shame that it shows so much. I mean, even, I don't know how you do it this way, but even just not kind of revealing as much about Benicio del Toro's character, right, who seems to start off as he's on the squad with them, and then he starts hunting them down or something, or there's this larger conspiracy.
I feel like that's what's implied by the trailer anyway, is that he is... I mean, the film is called Sicario, and the trailer points out that Sicario is the Mexican word for hitman, or Spanish, whatever it is. And they sort of overtly... Like, Emily Blunt is uncomfortable having him on the team because he's like a hired gun. And Josh Brolin's kind of trying to talk it around, saying how he'll work for anyone, so it's fine, it's better to have him working for us than it is to have him working for the bad guys. But then it seems pretty clear that there's a lot of twists and turns, and that he ends up turning against them, and there's sort of some implications, at least I felt from the trailer, that it was kind of part of a bigger plan by Josh Brolin, and that she was a pawn, because she says something about, you used me as bait or something, that I don't know, I feel like that he is going to turn evil, and then you're going to find out that it is higher levels of corruption, or maybe not corruption, maybe Josh Brolin feels like he's doing the right thing, but his methodology, like the way he goes about it, is like super dark and underhanded. Yeah,
I think you're spot on. It really seems to give away all of that stuff. So it'd be interesting to see whether we're being misled or not.
Yes.
But I have a bad feeling that you're on the money there, and that's kind of the general storyline.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried. I guess it makes me a little worried that the second trailer having such a tonal shift from the first, that there's a lack of confidence that the film can attract an audience on its own. So perhaps they have to. They feel like they need to show more of the plot, and they need to manufacture this action movie vibe to get an audience into cinemas. perhaps because it could be such sort of bleak, dark subject matter, which is disappointing if that's the case, because, like you said, we've now potentially kind of know what's going to happen for the whole film. Yeah. Or the majority of the film, anyway.
Yeah. Having said all that stuff, I'm super pumped to see this. And, I can't wait. Yeah,
definitely. Just watching the trailer, as much as I was disappointed at what it revealed, just the look and the feel, particularly in the first trailer, is so in my wheelhouse and exactly what I like about his previous films. So I'm super pumped. Yeah, hopefully it can surprise us.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll find out in the future.
Yep. Come on, future Jon and Matt. Were we right or were we wrong? Let us know.
Let us know right now.
I'm not a soldier. This is not what I do.
Juarez is what happens when they dig in. This is it.
Gotta be careful around these people. CIA is not supposed to work this side of the fence.
I just want to know what I'm getting into.
You will not survive here.
You use me as bait. Freeze!
You saw things you shouldn't have seen.
He works for that composition.
Providing a measure of order that we could control.
I'm gonna tell everyone what you did.
That would be a major mistake.
Alright, welcome back, everyone.
Welcome.
Since we've been gone, Jon and I have both now seen Sicario. And I'm curious to hear, Jon, did you think the film lived up to our psychological horror thriller kind of expectations, or was it more in line with the second trailer and a big bombastic action gangster sort of film?
Well, I think thankfully it is definitely not the second trailer. I think that's a classic case of mismarketing a movie to try and get a certain audience to come and see it. The movie's definitely more in line with the first trailer and what we were sort of hoping the movie would be in terms of the dark psychological thriller that's dealing with some more weighty issues and not just a action, badass gangster, being a drug lord's kind of cool sort of movie. It's not that at all. I really enjoyed this movie, and I think I wasn't surprised by anything though, and I wasn't underwhelmed. It was kind of like exactly what I was expecting, and I think a large reason for that is that the trailer does give away a lot, and so there were points that are shown in the trailer that are quite late in the movie that I was waiting for the whole time. And so I totally had a sense of the overall arc of the story, and a lot of our predictions, which weren't like crazy insightful things. I mean, we just picked them up from the trailer, and most of them were correct, I think, in terms of the big conspiracy and all this kind of stuff. And so that was a little disappointing, but I think it's a exceptionally well-made movie. I mean, it's beautifully shot, it's beautifully edited, the performances are great, the score is unsettling. It does have... I could have done with even more of the horror tinge. I think it starts out like that, and then that kind of gets lost a bit. But there is always this dark, seedy overtone to it, which I really, really liked. So although I wasn't surprised, I was really entertained, and I think it's a really, really good movie. But unfortunately, the trailer was a bit of a spoiler-thon. What do you think, Matt? What do you thoughts on that?
I think I had a bit of a similar experience to you, Jon. I really enjoyed the film while I was watching it, but underwhelmed is the wrong word. I think you're right. It was like exactly what... Well, I think it was a bit less than I expected in certain aspects and more than I expected in others, and it kind of balanced into this middle ground. And if anything, like it's grown in my mind since I've seen it. So I'm liking it more and more and more the more I think about it. But I remember just coming out of the cinema, in particular, I agree with what you're saying about the trailer and the plot points. The trailer is super spoilery, but not only that, I feel like the trailer suggests a more twisty kind of plot, and it just doesn't really happen. It just sort of plays out kind of like what you expect it to play out, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I was expecting some sort of revelation or some, I don't know, just it to be a bit more of a like convoluted, in a good way, story, and it was much simpler than I expected it to be. But having said that, the filmmaking is awesome, and I agree with you in terms of the first third, I think is also the strongest, which may be a little bit of a issue because it never kind of tops that. It kind of hits this ceiling of creepy dread in the first third of the film and kind of stays at that level or dips a little.
I agree.
By the end, but man, like the opening scenes in the house when they have that kind of shootout. It's not even a shootout. I mean, they just storm the house. But the way sort of after that's all gone down, and then I think they're sort of talking outside and stuff, and it would just randomly insert like shots of slow pans into the corpse faces with the plastic bags, and it's got that like the hum, like that oppressive music over it. It's just gross and fucked. Like,
I loved that stuff, and at that moment I was like, oh man, I'm gonna love this movie. This is like it's like police horror, which you don't really see that often, but it didn't really go down that road ultimately. No,
I think when they first crossed the border into Mexico, I think that is the most effective in terms of tension
that was
as well.
Incredible.
Like when they first get there and they see those like mutilated corpses hanging from the bridge, and again it's like something out of a horror film. It's like, what the fuck are these guys getting into? Like, where are we? There's just this lawlessness to it, and then the way it builds tension over that whole trip to pick up the hostage or whatever and driving back, and then they spot a police car driving next to them, and then it just like every minute or so that they just crank the tension up like a notch. And they're like stopped on the bridge, and then someone's like, "Oh, you can't engage until they get out of the car or whatever." And then as soon as one of them just like cracks the door, like everyone just jumps out, and oh man, it was just like I wasn't breathing. I was like gripping onto the arms of my seat. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was just that scene in particular was some of the best like suspense filmmaking I've seen in a very long time. You know, it was just so expertly handled, and even though we're saying that maybe it was slightly underwhelming, or at least what we expected in terms of the whole movie, the craft of it is on another level. I mean, it's just like I felt so like I was watching. It's like when you watch a Spielberg movie or a Scorsese movie, and I'm not saying it's that good as them, but I just feel like comfortable. Like there's not going to be a mistake or anything weird or that feels unnatural. I think you can just tell that Denis Villeneuve has an idea for every scene, exactly what he wants. You know what I mean? Like you're in the hands of someone that really knows their craft and knows exactly what each frame needs to be telling us. And I just love, I love seeing a movie that's that like confident, really, in its filmmaking ability. Yeah, or its craft, I guess.
Yeah. I totally agree. I also really loved two of the performances. I loved Emily Blunt. I thought was really great. But I also loved Benicio del Toro. He's never seemed as threatening as he does in this film. There's just something about his like mannerisms and the way he holds himself. And he's never really does anything super violent. I mean, he shoots the people at the end and stuff. We can get into that, but he's not like throwing people around and yelling at people. He's just kind of quiet and introverted but terrifying. And the one scene that I knew that I loved his like take on this character was when they had the hostage that they were interrogating, and he like sort of grabs this thing of water and walks in, and then the way he just walks in and like shoves his crotch like right into the guy's face.
I've never seen anything like that before.
It's just no, and I loved it. It was like this kind of like bravado, you know, like like an ape or something.
Yeah,
out in
total
the forest,
masculine dominance.
Dominance over him, you know what I mean? Like, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah. It was like, I was wondering, I loved that, and I was thinking, like, what's he gonna do here? You know what I mean? But it was purely like an intimidation thing. It wasn't actually anything like sexual or anything like that. It was like, I'm totally dominating you right now. And then I think the way that scene ended was really cool, and I guess this goes back to just the filmmaking side of, they're doing something horrific to this guy, right? And all it does is just show this drain, and it's like slowly
the plug hole,
you know, pushing into the plug hole. I love that kind of stuff, you know. It's just the power of suggestion and the audio in the background, and I really love when films do that sort of thing, rather than showing us, I don't know, whatever they were doing to him. It's a lot worse if you just imagine it in your head, sort of.
Yeah, definitely. I also, speaking of Emily Blunt, I thought the portrayal of her character was awesome. Like, I loved it. I've heard some criticism of the film where people are sort of criticising it for sidelining her character towards the end of the film, but I completely disagree with all of that.
Yeah, me too.
I love that she's kind of this, you know, tough female protagonist, but it's not in the like cliched way where she has to act like a man and be like macho, or there wasn't, like, I love that she was just kind of respected because she was good at her job, and like the other soldiers, like, they didn't talk down to her. I mean, she was excluded from, she wasn't part of their group, but that was nothing to do with gender. That was to do with like the politics of it, like that bullshit. I was just so glad there wasn't some bullshit scene where, you know, she got like some stupid sexual harassment comment like screamed at her, or, you know, someone said something dumb and she like beat them up or something, like to prove that she was one of the men. Like, it was handled so well, but you never felt that she was out of, well, okay, you did feel like she was out of her depth, but there was never because of gender. Like, it was all about, it was all about them withholding information from her and them using her for their own needs. It could have been a man in that role, and it would have played out exactly the same way.
Yeah, exactly. I think I
really respected it for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, I think, as you say, that if a man was in that role, it would have been exactly the same. You know, and that's not to say that I guess I'm just repeating you, but that she wasn't written as a dude either. You know, like, she is still very much a female character.
Yeah, I think like it's just her flaws are a character flaws that are like key to the plot of the film, right? Like, the only time, like, she's only ever like on the back foot because, like I said, they don't give her information, or she's like, she tries to do something good, like when she goes into the bank and gets caught on camera or whatever. That was only because she's good at her fucking job and didn't want to like let the guy get away or whatever. She wanted to pin them on the money charges.
Exactly.
And I guess the scene that kind of blurs that a little is when she's attacked by the guy that she brings home from the bar. But the two good things about like that, it was like a consensual thing. She took this guy home. It was never like menacing in any kind of sexual way. And she one-upped him. Like, she figured it out before he got the jump on her. Like, she was smarter than he was. It was just that he was physically stronger, and they kind of make a character point about that earlier, that she's like let herself go. She's a bit emaciated because she's overworking herself. Like, it's got nothing to do with her being a weak woman. It's being her not looking after herself because she's working too hard. And again, you could have switched that with the genders. I just really liked all that. Yeah,
and I think on that note too, it's like this will sound weird, but it's like equal opportunity in terms of the violence, you know what I mean? Like, they don't hold anything back because she is a woman either, in terms of what the film shows and what other characters do to her. You've got that scene with the one night stand. She gets shot towards the end, and she's like can't breathe properly. Josh Brolin at one point is like really violently like pushing down on her face and stuff like that, and it's like really brutal stuff. And again, it's not in any kind of man versus woman sort of way at all. It's just like the exact same thing you'd see if it was a dude in that role. And I actually think that's a good thing, you know what I mean? Not that, obviously if you're cynical in hearing this, you could say, oh, it's good that they're showing a woman being beaten. But I don't mean it like that. I mean, the movie's not even questioning that side of it, you know what I mean? It's just like, she's in this job, she's in this situation, you're gonna get fucking hurt, regardless of if you're a man or a woman. And I think, you know, we're talking about this and delving into it, but the movie is almost not even concerned with that, because it's like,
totally.
Well, this is just the story and these are the characters and that's it.
Yeah, it's really great. I liked that there was some thematic depth to it. I guess we kind of touched on this on the trailer and expected it, but it was there was kind of like recurring themes of, I mean, it's nothing new, but they're sort of creating their own worst enemies. It's like this perpetual cycle of violence. You know, like there's all that talk about who do you think trained the cartels, like the Americans did it in the first place, and now excuse me, and now they have to, you know, try and fight these people that they in a sense created. And it's the same sort of thing like with Benicio del Toro's character. He goes to at the end and slaughters that guy's family in front of him, like, but the only reason he did that is because that guy killed his family. Like, he created the monster that ends up killing him, you know what I mean? It's like this endless cycle of violence. You're always going to get one-upped by the thing that you hurt, sort of thing, you know what I mean? I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just like on that note, that final scene at the dinner table, I loved that he shot that family. That sounds so fucked up, but like no other film would do that. Like, I kind of...
they really went
the normal film would... he would have let them go, or, you know, he would have shot the dad in front of them, or I don't know, he would have been the better man and kind of just walked away. But he just, like, it's just cold, brutal, but perfectly fits in with the themes of the film.
I think that really is a great point and speaks to the movie in general, in that it just doesn't hold anything back, and it is quite bleak, and the ending is like, you know, really the point of the end, the very end, specifically with like the last scene with the kids playing soccer, you know, the point is like, they didn't achieve anything. You know, you hear the gunshots in the background, and it's like, well, there's still, you know, this war going on, there's still violence. What did they actually achieve? One guy got his personal vengeance. What does that mean? You know, and it destroyed all these lives in the process. And Emily Blunt's character now has to live with the fact that she signed this document that is total bullshit, and, you know, it's a really bleak ending, but not in an over the top, like, oh, the world is dark kind of way. I think it plays it really nicely, and I don't know, I really appreciated that. I think it's the only way that story could have ended, in the way that the tone and the story that it's telling. It would have felt like a cop out if there was some sort of happy ending where they solved all the issues, or, you know, like they destroyed all the drug cartels or something ridiculous like that. But like you said, it's also not overblown and ridiculously doom and gloom. It fits so well in a subtle way. Though I am interested, speaking of the soccer scene at the end, how did you feel about the scenes that are inserted throughout the film of the son and the father kind of just doing domestic stuff that kind of eventually ties in towards the end of the film? Did you like that? Did you not like that? Yeah, I loved it, actually. I mean, I the whole movie, you're like wondering, where is this going, and what, you know, they're going to cross paths at some point. And in a way, it's strange in terms of like traditionally scripting a film. You wouldn't really do that, because you could have just had that character appear at the end of the film where he's like unloading the car and Benicio del Toro comes out. Like, you could have just introduced him there. But the fact that you had this little bit of backstory, I don't know, I just really liked that. I think most movies don't take that time to flesh out, you know, a character that has only a couple of lines and is kind of an extra, really. In a normal action movie, you know, it's this person that's held hostage driving the car. And in this movie, you get to see the backstory and the family situation. And I don't know, I really liked it. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm in two minds. I think I love what it does, and I agree with you completely in terms of it giving a bit of a face to the other side, because you really just don't see that side when you're following the cops. Which, I mean, it might not necessarily be a bad thing, but, you know, it was good to see the other side. But it did feel a little, as you say, out of place, and I think I could pick it too early that, like, you knew, like you said, exactly knew they were going to cross paths, and you knew something bad was going to happen, right? Like, there was no way that was ending good. Yeah. And it just felt a little contrived. So I'm yet to come down on whether I think it was good or not. I mean, yeah, thematically I think it's good, but I don't know if I like the way that it was executed 100%. Having said that, maybe if he didn't just die off, which you kind of knew was going to happen, I think the better payoff is that soccer game. Like, that was what I found really moving. Like, the fact that what they have to live with. I would almost have preferred to just see a family that has to deal with it in the periphery, like around their lives all the day, not necessarily an actual cop that's going to get shot at the end of the film.
Right,
like,
yeah.
But, yeah, having said that, it certainly didn't ruin the film for me. It was just the one little thing that stood out that I'm unsure of.
Yeah, I just found that, I don't know, I just enjoyed it because we don't normally get that sort of thing. Like, it's a cutaway to a completely different storyline that overall isn't really important to the plot, but it's just, I don't know, it's a taste of, as you say, the other side, and like what... Yeah. I mean, it's not like he was innocent. He was involved in all the trafficking, but, you know, his kid's innocent, and his wife, presumably, is kind of innocent, and so it was just interesting seeing that side as well. I really enjoyed that for most of the movie you are... Like, Emily Blunt is sort of the audience surrogate, I suppose, and that we're seeing everything through her eyes and discovering things at the same time as her. And I really loved the feeling for the sort of first 2/3, I suppose, of the movie, of just not having any idea what's going on and being lost, and she's being told, you know, you're helping us out to do this, and then she hops on a plane and it's like, oh, actually we're going here, and this is like a really dangerous thing, and you've suddenly got to deal with that. And you really felt for her, and as a viewer, it's like you're expecting one thing and then they quickly throw you into another situation. And I just think they handled that really well, of making you confused like her, but not in a frustrating, bad filmmaking way. Like, it was all planned very well. And you just felt lost and confused, you know, and you're in this really dangerous mission, and, you know, she wasn't prepared for that at all. And I think you as a viewer at the same time, that helps with the tension, because you're suddenly like, oh shit, this is just happening now.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point, actually. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, you almost took the words out of my mouth when I was just thinking then. It just heightens the tension so much more for you as an audience member, not knowing, like, being on the same footing as her and always feeling a little off balance and like what's going to be thrown at you next. And yeah, it's really well handled. I agree.
So what did you think, Matt, of the kind of, we're saying there's not a big twist or reveal, there sort of is at the end, which was basically in the trailer, that Josh Brolin was sort of just using Emily Blunt. Turns out in the movie it's just literally for some paperwork so they can do what they need to do in her kind of district or whatever. What did you think of that as a kind of climax to the story?
Well, yeah, I guess at the time of while I was watching it, it was a little disappointing. Like, I didn't even really feel like a climax to me.
No, I would agree with
because maybe because we picked it from the trailer, but I kind of was a little bit, is that it? Like, expecting that there was going to be more. But retrospectively, like, thinking about it, I kind of love that it's like you said, literally just about paperwork. Like, they just needed it for legal purposes, you know, covering their asses, like what actually probably would happen. Yeah. I don't know, I like that. What about you? Did you feel the same way, or did you? Did it feel like a twist for you?
No. I think I'm on the same page as you. Like, and it is hard to tell whether it's because we picked it or not. But even the way it kind of is revealed in the movie, it's not like this big moment where everything like sort of comes together and all the pieces fit. It's just like Josh Brolin's kind of matter of fact about it when they're in the hotel room, and then later after the kind of shootout, and he's like, you know, you're not going to tell anyone that this is just the way it is, and you know, it was kind of downplayed. So I don't know. The movie, it just doesn't follow a traditional structure, and I think that's why some people have trouble with it. Like some of the criticisms for it suddenly turning away from the Emily Blunt character and being about Benicio del Toro for that 20-minute sequence or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I like that, and I also find it, I don't know, like we were saying, maybe slightly underwhelming in the moment, because it doesn't really build to anything massive other than some of this kind of thematic points that it hits at the end, and then it just kind of seeps away again to this dark ending, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, it's a good point, because it does kind of, by shifting focus to the Benicio del Toro character at the end, the kind of big scene of the film is when he executes the family and the mob boss, right? But that's not in any kind of payoff, like emotional or plot wise, in any way for anyone other than Benicio del Toro. Like that doesn't affect Emily Blunt at all, which again is kind of like, you can read that as the point of the film, right? Like she was never meant to be part of this. She was the fucking paperwork, and it's not about her. And she, like, sit in your fucking hotel room and just sign this document and shut your mouth, because that's the only reason you were here. It's about us and killing this dude. But as an audience member, there is something like mildly unsatisfying about that. You know, like you've been with this character the whole time, and you want some sort of emotional catharsis, and it just doesn't give it to you. But I would argue that it's on purpose. I think that's a deliberate choice.
Yeah.
And yeah, in a way that can be read as a strength of the film. I will say though, those final scenes with Benicio del Toro, after having just talked about how great they were, do perhaps like border on a little bit like actiony cliche. Like he's like Superman, superhuman with those pistol shots. Yeah, like it almost gets a bit silly towards the end, the way he takes those guys down.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's it almost goes over the line at that point. He doesn't make a single mistake or anything, you know. Yeah. I think that's really interesting though, and I think you're right that's the point, and the movie deserves like kudos for doing that and for being brave enough in some ways to like treat the audience like Emily Blunt's character. And I guess it's doing that the whole way. As we were saying before, when she's confused, you're kind of confused, and then when she's sidelined, you're sidelined as an audience member, and it's just like, well, you want this emotional climax, you're not going to get it. Here's something else that's going on, you know, the real point of the mission. So yeah, it's interesting, but as we've kind of both said, in the moment when you're sitting there, it is a little bit like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of wanted this or that, or I was expecting this or that. So I don't know, but it's definitely I'm positive on it overall, I think.
Yeah, it's actually interesting, more that I'm thinking about it in my head now, that the actiony scenes with Benicio del Toro, that's almost like an extension of that, right? Like it goes, you want a climax, an emotional climax with Emily Blunt's character, we're not going to give it to you. Then it kind of like tricks you into thinking you're going to get like an action film climax, because he's being suddenly gets like badass. But then the proper climax is you have to fucking sit and watch him murder 2 children and like the wife, you know, it's horrific.
It is.
Like, it trips you up in that way as well. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe I'm giving the film too much credit. Maybe it's not that smart, but I think you could read it that way.
Yeah, I think you could read it that way. And I'm definitely getting more positive on it as we're talking about it, for sure, as well. Like, kind of going through all this stuff. In general, the movie's... Yeah, I think it's gone up a couple of notches just in our discussion here, because there is a lot of great stuff in it. I mean, certain sequences, certain thematic ideas, and all this stuff towards the end. It's just really interesting, and, you know, the average kind of drug bust movie doesn't have this stuff in it. So it's really cool that we can talk about all this sort of thing on a plot that's in some ways relatively simple,
Yeah,
You know, it's good that there's all this other stuff kind of around it that you can think about and chat about.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, yeah, even if the actual mechanics of the plot were a little bit underwhelming and we were a bit spoiled by the trailer, I think, yeah, it's the kind of film that if you think about it and stew on it, just it grows, gets better and better. I'd love to watch it again, actually, and see what else I can discover.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the PrePost film review. We'd love to know what you guys thought of Sicario. Do you agree with John and I that it's a pretty amazing, dark, brooding, creepy thriller, or did you hate it? Let us know. You can shoot us an email at prepostfilmreview@gmail.com, and we always reply to everything we get, so it's awesome hearing from you guys when you write in.
That's right. It's always really good. You can also find us on Facebook. Give us a like there. That helps get new listeners for the show. We appreciate the support. Likewise, if you subscribe to us on iTunes, that makes a massive difference in terms of exposure for the show. And leave a rating if you'd like. A good rating or a bad one. Please, a good one, though. That'd be nice. We're also on Twitter at PrePostFR, and it's just another way to get in contact with us, staying in touch with what we're thinking about film news and releases. I should have also mentioned that aside from iTunes, obviously we're also on all the big kind of podcast servers like Stitcher and whatever the other ones are. Yep. So we really appreciate you guys subscribing and supporting the show.
Yeah, you can also follow John and myself on Letterboxd, which is a cool site that lets you log all the films that you watch. There are links to our profiles in the show notes, so jump on there and have a chat. And join us next episode when we're going to be talking about a brand new Steven Spielberg film, Bridge of Spies. Exciting times.
Yeah.
Villeneuve.
Oh fuck. Villeneuve.
Yeah, Villeneuve. I'm gonna. It makes me sound like more of an idiot because I won't be able to say that.
Denis Villeneuve. Fuck.
Villeneuve. Yeah, I think that's it.
Just think of it as like Villeneuve.